Hello, I'm Mantastic and Fantastic, and today I'm just going to be going over my Zero Stone Super Ultimate Colosseum clear I had last night on my stream. So, Super Ultimate Colosseum is basically the hardest dungeon that has ever been released in Puzzle & Dragons at this point in time. It has numerous hurdles, including gigantic amounts of health from the bosses, numerous resolves, lots of combo shields, deadly mechanics, and basically repeated spawns that are basically going to kill most teams because it's 21 floors and there's very little place to actually take a breather and stall. So, whereas Arena 3 does have randomized encounters, the spawns in Colosseum are much harder overall, and even though you do know what you're going to fight for the most part, it's still very challenging to overcome them, and there is some variance involved as well, so it is by no means an easy dungeon. So, this has basically been the most exciting for me that's happened in PAD for quite a while because I have been basically just grinding through Arena 3 excessively, and at this point, I want to have something new to play, and this is basically this is something amazing, to be honest. So, late last night, alongside the Gung-Ho stream, I was actually playing my own way through Colosseum, and I managed to clear it with 0 stones with my Mary team, and it was quite successful. Like, aside from a couple of previous runs where I had issues with knowing exactly how much damage and the dance around Orpharion itself, it could have been done on my first try for sure. I basically just pushed him underneath his resolve. Basically, if you knock him below 50%, you die. So you need a gravity to deal with him. And I got him to like 48, 49%. So it was just very unlucky, and I could have easily won on my first attempt. So I feel like I'm going to continue to clear this dungeon over the course of the weekend. So I just want to take this time to basically elaborate on the team setup I've used and basically my rationale and thought process behind it. So this is the team that I used to clear it for my very first time. I've only had one clear this far. I plan to stream again on Saturday and probably on Sunday as well with a slightly modified team. But this is the team that I did use, and it is basically my very standard Mary team. It's quite similar to my Arena 3 setup, except I shuffled Inherits around and brought Sumires instead. So the key things to note in terms of latents was I basically had 5 SDRs on my 2 leaders, and all of my subs except for Sumire had 3 SDRs and a Machine Killer. So the Machine Killer was obviously to help myself deal with Gaia Dragon and Arena 3 more easily, but it's also to help mitigate a lot of the risks involved in Colosseum, because almost all of the challenging encounters have a machine typing, and if I have basically 3 cards doing 50% more damage, I'm gaining significantly more output against those spawns, and that makes it a lot easier because I'm able to actually kill them with fewer orbs or combos. And it's key that I could kill them with, say, fewer orbs. Like I can maybe, say, connected 8 and not have to have an extra 3 match. With that, I save potentially active skills and save time stalling, so it just improves my consistency by a small amount. I'm not sure how much it would be. Maybe I played 100 times, maybe it would give me like another 5–10% higher clear rate. I don't know. But they're by no means mandatory. It's just nice to have, and I'm well aware that not everyone has played Arena 3 that much and acquired that many machine killers. So SDRs are generally the safest bet. Like, it does avoid skill delays, and skill delays are never a fun mechanic in all honesty. And the key actives to own, basically, for this dungeon is an Orochi-style delay. Like, you really need an Orochi-style delay for this dungeon. And you also need a gravity. And for myself, I have Reincarnated Hades. And the gravities to deal with Machine Zeus or Machine Hera, because they have an 81% resolve, so you have to push them underneath right away, then you can kill them, as well as pushing Orpharion, which is the final boss, down below his 50% resolve threshold. So those are the kind of the 2 key active skills you have to bring to counter this dungeon, and what you bring otherwise is more so up to personal preference and how comfortable you feel playing through the dungeon. And one last thing I want to mention is why there are no inherits on my leaders. So in Colosseum, everything has an absurd amount of health. That's pretty well established. In addition, there are numerous combo shield mechanics, and by having Mary naked, so to speak, in terms of inherits, I'm actually guaranteeing I will have access to her base active skill every single time. And that's crucial because that +2 combo count has a dual purpose. It allows me to overcome the combo shields with ease, as well as adding a significant amount of passive damage, just because Mary teams hit very hard, but they're plagued by usually lower combo counts. So by gaining 2 more combos, you're actually gaining a large damage boost, and that's a big deal. So I can bypass the 8 combo shield from Machine Zeus and ensure I actually kill him. So it's those two aspects together, and that's the reason why I don't inherit anything onto my leaders. And I do suggest you do something similar. If you do have an extra Mary dupe, you should just put them on top of themselves for the stat transfer and extra SDR protection. But again, that's not by no means mandatory. So one thing I like to just kind of do is like compare my Arena 3 setup to my Colosseum setup, mostly because I did take out Sumire's, and it's worth noting because a lot of people have watched me play Arena 3 and they were wondering why I did the reshuffling. So I took out the Blue Sonya and the Mori from both sides and replaced it with Sumire. And Sumire has multiple purposes. For one, Sumire does allow me to have the ability to spawn hard orbs with his base active skill, which becomes important later on when you have to stall excessively on the final boss, or even throughout the dungeon. And to be honest, 3 hard orbs is a guaranteed full health heal. Like, you're going to heal to full health with 3 hard orbs if you make a modest amount of combos. So that is a big advantage to have. Furthermore, in Arena 3, you tend to encounter much more absorption damage void mechanics, most notably the radar dragons. That's their kind of signature mechanic. And in Colosseum, that's not really the case. It's mostly just do as much damage as possible. There is some resolves, but you can dance around them in other ways. It's not as hard of a requirement because the damage void is different than resolve for sure. So with my Blue Sonya and Mori, I had more rows, so basically my damage is more controllable. And with a more controllable damage like that, I'm able to make actually more combos. And with more combos, I yield the same amount of damage as if I had more enhanced orbs, but I'm able to clear more orbs, and that means more water orbs have a chance to fall down, saves you active skills moving forward, and that's the main reason why I went very row heavy in Arena 3. But in Colosseum, it's not the case. You generally have to just put out as much damage as possible, and by using Sumire and his numerous enhanced orb awakenings, I'm actually able to ensure I do more damage because I'm basically just wanting to hit as hard as possible for the most case. So that's the reason why I switched Sumire into my team, just for the higher level amount of damage as well as the base active skill producing hard orbs. So again, it's just small things. I like to try and min-max as much as possible. Obviously, you use what's at your own disposal. So moving forward for Colosseum, these are a couple of changes I want to make. They're very small, to be fair, but what I feel is that I want to be able to deal with Orpharion faster, just because I spend almost half of my run dancing with him, just waiting for the perfect opportunity, as well as having sometimes issues getting the right amount of damage, even though there's no Skyfalls, because I have to wait for not too many water orbs so I don't do too much damage. So in an ideal world, I would have 2 30% gravities. Unfortunately, I don't have that on either of my accounts. Technically, if I had my Hades in the other form, I'd lose out. I don't know if can I reverse it. I don't know, but I can't do it anyways because I don't even have 2 30%. So I have to live with what I have been given. And in all honesty, I don't want to really bring 3 gravities, like 3 smaller gravities. That will just take up too many active skill slots. So what I've done is I want to keep Sun Quan because Sun Quan does allow me to have a much, basically allows me to have a burst damage in an emergency. If I'm short on water orbs and no orb changes, I can Sun Quan, as well as give me 2 turns delay. It's again a little bit of insurance. And I switched out the Awoken Hermes for Awoken Sequoia on my Sumire, and I switched Reunite to Scald. And Reunite to Scald should have happened, to be fair, the first time, because Scald combos with Mary, whereas Reunite does not. So that was an issue sometimes. And with the Sequoia and Hades, I'm actually able to have a little more wiggle room in terms of gravity, in terms of dancing in Orpharion. Presently speaking, beforehand, I had to hit him to around 60%, and that involves a lot more dancing around. It's a little riskier because it gets close to that 50% execution. Whereas if I have the Sequoia and Hades, I'm actually able to get him to only around 80%, and at 80% I can push him below 50. So it's a lot less risk involved. I can make less combos, I have more wiggle room for error, and it's just a safer avenue overall, I feel at least. So I'm going to be testing this on my Twitch stream over the course of the weekend. Hopefully it sticks and it provides a much more speedier clear on the boss, because I get to the boss every time, it's just dancing on him is the problematic area. So that's the changes I'm making moving forward. Again, I might make more modifications as I deem fit, but I feel like this team should be relatively successful now. So basically, in conclusion, Colosseum is pretty much the most fun I've had in a dungeon in quite some time. Like, it offers a different kind of challenge that's very exciting. It's intense, as well as having some of the most lucrative rewards, most notably the million-plus rank experience you gain, which is kind of outrageous. In addition, you also have a guaranteed Orpharian leg or arm, as well as a chance at a head from the machine Zeus or Hera. So I hope I can farm at least one completed Orpharian over the course of this weekend. It'd be pretty awesome if I could. We'll see just how many clears I'm able to do in the meantime. So let me know what you used to clear Colosseum. What was your setup? What hurdles did you encounter? Let me know in the comments below. Hopefully you all have a mantastic day, and happy puzzling!